Hello there, fourth graders. This is Mr. Ashenhurst, and I am back this time looking at a data set. And actually, this is a data set that you worked on during your last lesson. I believe it's page 237. And what we were looking at is we were looking at the amount of time that each student spent in a swimming pool. And you created, and I did the same thing, created a line plot using that data. And what I want to teach you today is how to interpret or analyze the data that we have. So we have this data set here, and then we have our line plot. And let's take a look at different ways now that we can analyze this data. One way, and this is new vocabulary, one way is using the range or finding the range. And we can see that the range is the difference between the greatest and least values in a data set. So we can see that our greatest is 13 and our least value is 4. So to find the range, we would take our greatest and subtract our least. 13 minus 4 would be 9. So our range for this would be 9. Another vocabulary word that I want to teach you is the mode. And the mode is the value or values that appear most often in a set of data. So just looking at this right now, we can see right away that 11 occurs more than the other numbers. And sometimes you might not have a mode. Sometimes there might be more than one mode. For example, let's say we had another 13 here. Well, then we would have a mode of 11 and 13. But in this case, we can see that because 11 occurs more than the other numbers, we have a mode of 11. Our last vocabulary word that I want you to be familiar with is the median. And the median, as we can see on our card here, is the middle value of a set of numerical data. In a set with an even number of data points, the median is the average of the two middle points. So in this case, we can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers here in our set. And we can see that the middle one, so there are 3 on this side, 3 on this side, the middle one would be 8. A trick that I like to use to find the middle, let me see if I can get this pen to work correctly, is I like to cross off the smallest, cross off the biggest, cross off the smallest, cross off the biggest, smallest, biggest, until I have one number left, and that would be my middle number. So those are some vocabulary words to be familiar with as we work through analyzing the data in this line plot and this data set. So our first job here is, I'm continuing on page number 237, is to calculate the total amount of time spent in the pool by the first 5 children. So what we want to do to be successful on here is we're going to need to use some of this vocabulary and answer these questions correctly. You're going to have 1 or 2 pages that your teacher will assign to you that will look like this, and we'll be asking you to find some of the same information, like the median and the range and so on. So what we need to do is we need to calculate the amount of time spent in the pool by the first 5 children. So let's look at our first 5 children here. We have 3/4, 1, 2, 1 1/4, and 3/4. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and write those down. 3/4, 1 and 2, 3/4, and then I have 1, and I had 2. Now I'm going to look back again and make sure that I'm being accurate. 1 1/4 and 3/4. Oh, I'm already seeing when I'm adding these together, 1 1/4 and 3/4 go together really well. As a matter of fact, they go together to make 2. I want to find the total amount of time spent. So that to me sounds like I'm adding these. So I have 2 here. Then these 2 go together nicely also to make 3. And then I have my 3/4. So it would be 3/4 over these words here, plus 3 plus 2 would equal 5 3/4. So the total amount of time spent in the pool by the first 5 children would be 5 3/4. And I believe that was hours, wasn't it? I'm going to abbreviate hours. There we go. Okay. So now, number 4, what I need to do is I need to complete using the line plot. So I'm going to use this set of data here, my line plot, in order to solve number 4 and the questions for number 4. Circle and label the minimum and maximum amount of time spent in the pool. Minimum, that would be the smallest. Maximum, that would be the largest. And then my question is, determine and label the range. Well, if you remember, let me find that range again. That wasn't it. That was it. It's the difference between the greatest and the least. So I look back. My greatest would be this 2.5. The least would be this half. So I would take 2.5. I'll write it over here. Minus 1/2, and I can see right away that that's going to give me a range of 2. All right, find the mode. So let's look back again. Remember where that mode was. I think it was here. All right, so the mode is the value that appears the most. Well, if I look on my line plot, that's right here, isn't it? That would be 1.5. That has 6 kids. None of the others have as many as that. I think the next most will be 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say that my mode is, oh no, I forgot what it was. What was it? It was 1.5. 1.5. So I'm going to write down 1.5 as my mode. All right. And I'm already almost finished with this. So letter D, find the middle value or the median. Do you remember the trick that I showed you to do that? Find the middle value or the median. In order to find the median, let me remind you, remember what I did? I crossed off the lowest, crossed off the greatest, and I just kept doing that until I found my middle number. So I'm going to do that. Oh boy, if I cross it off with an X though, that's going to kind of make things confusing, isn't it? So maybe what I'll do is I will go ahead and just put a line through it. All right. So I'm just going ahead and crossing off the highest and the lowest. So it's kind of like I'm making like an asterisk or something. I think I already can tell what my middle number is going to be. Oh, do you remember? If we had 2 numbers, so 2 1.5s, we just take the average of those, which would be 1.5. Because they're the same amount of hours, it makes it really, really simple. So even though there are 2, they're both 1.5. So we would go ahead and write for our median 1.5. Okay. So that is working with a data set and creating a line plot, and then working to find the range and the mode and the median. Remember, to be successful on this lesson, what you'll be doing is interpreting or analyzing that line plot and that set of data and analyzing it by finding range and mode and median. Good luck. And I miss everybody. I hope everybody's doing well, and look forward to seeing everybody again soon, hopefully.